welcome to Eat, Sleep, Suplex, Retweet. My name's Ross McLeod. It's the weekend of a pay-per-view. We're back with another, not an on-day of preview, it's the day before preview because, well, I want to watch the Rangers game tomorrow in Tough Titty. It's my show, and we'll do what I like. So I've dragged two of the three usual suspects onto the show. We literally don't know where Dave is.
No,
Dave,
if anyone has seen David Hockney, perhaps at a bar trying to pick up women on Tinder, or even perhaps sitting in a milk carton, please let us know. Send in your tweets to @SuplexRetweet and your Beebles.
Hashtag Wales Dave. Yes,
disappeared into the hex. Wanda has them now.
It was Dave all along.
Oh, yes. So after the shambles of one of our crew not showing up, this being the day before it usually is, this is our pay-per-view preview show, our live pay-per-view preview show. And I'm going to be honest, guys, we did this, for Survivor Series as well. We did. So since Survivor Series, we've been doing live shows. We've never had quite a spectacular, horrendously bad start. There's everything going wrong that could go wrong. But yes, one of them's not shown up, but thankfully I've got the head of the First Time Films Network, David Campbell.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm happy to give my predictions for a pay-per-view I'm strangely hyped for, despite WWE themselves not being hyped up for it enough, in my opinion. But I'm looking forward to some chamber shenanigans. Should be fun.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's kind of like Hell in a Cell that happened just after the SmackDown moved to Fox. It's there, but WWE would rather it wasn't. And of course, the host of Scott and Paul's Rambling Podcast, Scott McLeod. Seriously, where is Dave? You spoke to him earlier.
I'm not his keeper. You know, I have things to do. I have Saturday Draft Live to edit, and I don't think I've been as. I wouldn't say I'm excited for this. I'm excited for a match. I'm welcome to be pleasantly surprised by the rest of them. You know, I was looking forward to doing this setup for Takeover Vengeance Day, and I was told, no, I want to talk to the people who are doing the predictions contest for that, and then moaned when only one out of the four turned up, and said about how you and Grant are the only people who work hard around here. Like, I wanted to be on the Vengeance Day preview, but by then I'd already made plans. It wasn't my fault the others pulled out.
All right, clearly somebody has kept those sour grapes an extra week, but we move on. At Suplex Retweet on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube is where you can follow us. Eat, Sleep, Suplex Retweet community, where we are currently broadcasting live. Hiya. That's our community. If you want to have a wee discussion, only I may speak to the community, Scott. Sit there in silence. That's where you can join in the conversation. And of course, Eat, Sleep, Suplex, Retweet, iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, and all good Android podcasting sites. We recently did the Mount Rushmore of NXT. I believe is that out now, Scott, or is that coming out soon?
No, that'll be coming out this coming Tuesday. It's the very next feature show that'll be coming out.
So coming this Tuesday, we have a Mount Rushmore of NXT. We have our weekly Central show. We have a Legion of Doom career retrospective hosted by Derek Kernan recently, and of course Saturday Draft Live. You know, Scott, this is an actual show on Saturday that's live, but you know, your live show is also there on the channels.
Oh, sorry, just felt someone dig into my ribs there. Give me while we're done.
So, obviously, guys, Elimination Chamber coming up this weekend. We're going to do the usual. We're going to talk a load of rubbish. We're going to give our predictions, and we're going to try to have a wee bit of a laugh while doing it. And of course, if you see Dave in the street, let Stephen Wilson know at Stephen W1192. That's at Stephen W1192. Hashtag Wales Dave. So we're going to start with the SmackDown Chamber match. Roman Reigns. Have the McLeods found their dark side? No, I was kicked into the spare room mere moments before recording.
Quaku, please never mention the dark side again. It was a stupid gimmick by bad creative, and I'm no bringing it up anymore on these networks on this channel. All right.
I do have a lamp, but my head blocks it. It just looks like I've had a really good idea.
It's not our fault that David Campbell clearly bought his light bulbs from fucking Wembley. He's now illuminated.
Listen, Scott, the sun always shines on David Campbell. What can I say? All right, what can I say?
Let's get we know where it shines out of.
Cheeky bastard.
But the SmackDown Elimination Chamber, I've really enjoyed the build to this. Roman Reigns, he's both a chicken shit heel champion, but at the same time, when he gets in the ring with people, he absolutely leathers them. Like he is a class above here. He's weaseled his way out of it. So Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, Baron Corbin, and Sami Zayn are going to have a chamber match, and the winner. People keep saying immediately after, like the wrestlers building this match up. However, Michael Cole and Corey Graves keep saying later in the night. So I'm not sure if this is going to be like clearly people are not reading for the same script here. Either somebody's gave away the fact that it's happening right after, or it's happening later in the night.
I think it will be one of those things, Ross, where the plans are probably changed and they're just trying to keep their options open at this point. Like, they're probably, oh, yeah, we'll do it right after. And then on SmackDown, Vince has been like, wait a minute, should we do it later in the night? Okay, we'll have him say, we'll do it later night. And then by the end of SmackDown, he's like, no, we'll just do it immediately after. You know what I mean? That's the type of decision-making that goes on in WWE. So I think it's just a case of not even people getting their wires crossed. They're just being told different things at different times, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, you go, Scott.
It would make sense, actually, more so to have that happen like immediately after. Like Roman comes out, expects the easy win, it's a spear, but then also is annoyed when they keep kicking out because he's expecting an easy night and then the match goes a bit longer than he was hoping it for. It would basically be like how he won the title in the first place at Payback, where he was in a triple threat but didn't sign the contract to be in it until both guys had broke the ring and then came in and basically stole the belt. So I think it'd be interesting to have that that second chamber be like near the end of the night, then have the Universal title match, because I do not want this match going on before the WWE title one, because couldn't give two shining shits about the WWE title Elimination Chamber match.
Well, slow your roll there. We will get into that later on. But yeah, I originally thought this was going to be a case of, well, they'll lose this time because Edge has won the Royal Rumble. I thought Edge, being a Raw superstar, was going after the Raw title. This was going to be a case of, well, we need a number one contender. But no, it's interesting storyline wise that Roman's managed to weasel his way out of it. But at the same time, I'm not as into the idea of there being essentially two World Championship Chamber matches on the one show, because it doesn't seem at the minute like Roman's going to lose the title. It looks like Roman and Edge is going to be that world title match at Mania, and it's all ex-WWE champions in the men's chamber later on in the night, but it's not WWE champions that have got a whole lot of steam behind them at the minute. It's sort of uninspired.
Yeah, I think the word is that the reason that Roman's not in the SmackDown chambers, they didn't want both chambers to be exactly the same, and that's just the two world champions defend their titles, which is why they had Roman face the winner afterwards. And I think it's quite smart because Roman, much like Brock, he only shows up to defend the title when he's contractually obliged to, and now he's trying to stack the odds in his favour with an easy win on the road to WrestleMania. But if you actually look at it, the last couple of years, we've had like a tag chamber and a singles chamber, and it's been like men's and women's. Because like 2019, you had women's tag titles decided, and then the men's chamber for the WWE title, and then swapped that around where you had the number one contender chamber where Shayna destroyed everybody, and then the SmackDown tag titles in the men's chamber. So they wanted the chambers to be so different. I'm surprised that they haven't done men's and women's chamber this year, where like one of the champions defends his title, mainly maybe Roman or something like that, and like one of the Raw women's chamber to decide the number one contender, because I think we all can tell it's going to be Bianca versus Sasha at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's something weird. Like, I think Adam Max did sign for WWE. Just seeing that there.
Breaking news just came in there, and a non-related news: Stacey Smith has just fainted. So.
Yes, that's correct. Best friend of Stacey Smith, and former interview on the channel, Adam Max did sign with WWE. Yeah. He is an absolute beast, by the way. Like,
has a look of a champion.
Yeah, like I know he's probably wanting to move away from the fact that he was on Love Island, but like it's where the mainstream attention he's received has come from.
Yeah.
But in ring, he is just an absolute freak athlete. He is built like a Greek god. He clearly looks after himself, and best of luck to him in WWE. Hopefully, he goes far.
Good signing for them. Good signing.
If you want to hear who Adam, So when
Can't wait for
sorry,
Nigel McGuinness to do a JBL when he talks about Randy Orton when Adam Maxton comes out. If you could build a sports centre town up underground, it would look like Adam Maxton.
well, if you want to hear who Adam Maxted's dream WrestleMania opponent is, head to Eat Sleep Suplex Retweets back catalogue and you can listen to my interview with him. There you go, a wee cheap plug right there.
You'll find out his dream opponent before Ross gets that sentence out.
Exactly. But yeah, Elimination Chamber this year, I think, it's very much like Hell in a Cell. Some years it gets the big build, some years it doesn't. I honestly thought when this match was announced, Edge was going after Drew, so it was going to be like, sort of maybe a screw job. Like whoever the winner is, maybe Roman just beats them down so they can't have their match, and they go, well, by the way, I've got a match and it's going to be at WrestleMania. But then we still have Fastlane, and now it looks like Edge is going to fight Roman. So, I mean, that's my plans at the window.
Yeah.
I think announcing Fastlane has really hindered them as well because you got to think whatever happens with like either title, it's probably going to continue over to Fastlane. It's weird some of the stories that you feature on Spirit. How are you going to continue them over, like, and not have it interfere in the build to WrestleMania? Because I think also having two pay-per-views in the lead up to WrestleMania has really hindered WWE's booking.
Yeah, it's not like previous years where it's like, oh, it's a Saudi show. It's just sort of there. Like, there's some nice matches, some legends come back, and it doesn't really affect the grand scheme of things too much. But it's a case this year of two pay-per-views right before WrestleMania. I think, and I mentioned this on Central before, that Elimination Chamber, even when underwhelming, you do sit down to watch the Chamber because you want to see the Chamber match. There is always innovative spots. You know, fair play to WWE, they always pull something out of the bag here.
Yeah.
Whereas Fastlane doesn't really have that. Fastlane's in that sort of, can we just get to WrestleMania, please, sort of spot. You know, you looked at some of the matches last year. I don't think any of the world titles were defended at Fastlane.
No,
I think it was just a build to, you know, certain matches. Aleister Black, AJ Styles was a placeholder to AJ Styles, The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it is what it is. But I think the only person who makes sense to win here and it will set up a WrestleMania match is Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan's winning.
Yeah.
I think Roman Reigns is on the cusp of losing his title when Seth Rollins interferes, because Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan looks at the WrestleMania match.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've seen the interactions with Cesaro recently. I think Cesaro-Seth is the Fastlane feud and Daniel Bryan is the WrestleMania feud. So
interesting.
That's my thinking there. But I wouldn't put it past them to maybe have just KO win again, because KO came close so many times. The matches have all been brilliant. You know, the TLC match, the steel cage match, the last man standing. I don't think fans would complain about another good match with KO and Roman. David, you're wincing a wee bit. Would you complain?
I wouldn't mind another good match between those two. I just feel that if Kevin Owens wins the Chamber and then loses to Roman again, you're not really giving him any sort of setup on the road to WrestleMania. And I feel it's important to try and, like you say, Ross, get those storylines in motion at the Elimination Chamber. So my thinking for Owens is, I think Owens is going to eliminate Baron Corbin or Sami Zayn, and the other, which one of them he eliminates, will attack Owens, and that will set up, you know, the WrestleMania feud for Kevin Owens against one of those two sort of mid-tier heels in SmackDown to keep him strong and keep him bubbling over. I completely agree with you. I think Daniel Bryan is winning this. I don't just say that because I have him in my draft team. I just think it makes sense. It's a match, him and Roman, that I think we'd all want to see, even if it did continue on to Fastlane, and he challenges for the title, maybe unsuccessfully again at Fastlane, and have, like you say, the Seth Cesaro mini feud to keep us boiling over until Daniel Bryan is ready to engage with Rollins again. I think that makes sense. It's hard to... I don't want to say that it's obvious, because sometimes the obvious thing in wrestling is the right thing to do in wrestling. But I think Daniel Bryan, and if he wins this, he wins a third Elimination Chamber in his career, which puts him among some of the greats in that match type. So I think it's a bit of history that WWE would want to try and capitalise on there as well.
It's ironic that Scott, I'll come to you for your predictions in a wee minute. It's ironic that Daniel Bryan winning Elimination Chambers always comes when people don't want him to win it. It can be over as anything. It can be, part of Team Hell No or on the road to WrestleMania 30, and everyone wants him to win. But as soon as he goes up against Santino or against Kofi Mania, everyone's just like, boo!
Yeah.
Like you said, that third Elimination Chamber, I completely forgot about those because they're not in the times where everyone wanted Daniel Bryan to win.
Yeah.
They're in that weird time where Daniel Bryan was the heel. I'll offer one more fantasy booking option and then I'll go straight to Scott and Scott can have his breakdown of the match. If Kevin Owens does win, but then does lose again, Jey Uso's cost him, two out of the 3 times?
Yeah.
Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens, we'll get 2 days of WrestleMania to fill. Would you be against a Jey Uso Kevin Owens match at WrestleMania?
Yeah. It feels too much of the same. I think Jey Uso, as good as he's been, is better served as the lackey to Roman rather than going off and engaging in like his own wee mini feud or something like that. If Jey Uso went after the Intercontinental title, I think that'd be an interesting story, but it doesn't look as though that's the direction they're going in with that. I think Jey Uso is just better served at this point, staying second fiddle to Roman, take Kevin Owens completely away from that storyline, because if Jey Uso is the lackey to Roman, it makes Kevin Owens look like the lackey to whoever's facing Roman. It make Kevin Owens the lackey to Edge, essentially, which I don't think is a role Kevin Owens should fill.
Fair enough. Scott, who do you think is winning this, and gives a wee breakdown of why you think they're winning it?
Before that, to cover for the Kevin Owens thing, I think him versus Jey Uso sounds more like a Fastlane match, and I'm hoping
That's
that
fair
like
enough.
Jimmy Uso is meant to make it become back soon. I'd hope that maybe they'd set up with Fastlane, Jimmy and Jey versus Kevin Owens and a partner of his choice. Who that would be, I don't really know at the minute, but at least it'll give them all something like meaningful to do. Be a return to WrestleMania for the Usos, because it's been quite a while. In terms of who I think will win, Kevin Owens actually winning and facing Roman. That the only thing that would benefit Owens in that is that if this frustration of another loss led to the return of heel Kevin Owens, because we talked about it on the Takeover Rivals, how good Kevin Owens was as a heel, but he was also an understandable heel, and also the frustration of these constant setbacks will probably be understandable enough for him to turn on somebody. Maybe he'll turn on Nakamura, somebody like that, on SmackDown.
Owens Nakamura. Oof, that sounds interesting.
That would be a good match.
But in terms of Cesaro, I wouldn't mind seeing him there. He's a dark horse. If he faced Roman, and we could say he's finally got a one-on-one match for one of the world titles, but then loses, I could add fuel to this Seth Rollins feud. So everyone's like, "See, you failed. But if you listen to me, you'll get another opportunity and you'll win in that." And Cesaro says no, and that keeps that going. Don't want to hang about you with your weird leather suit thing.
Cesaro says no. Cesaro says no.
In 5 different languages, he says no.
Seth Rollins was rocking a jacket and suit that was straight out the James R. Kennedy collection last night on on SmackDown. It was a lovely pair of curtains before Seth Rollins took it.
I very much enjoyed his leather number when he came back. I was like, wow, Seth Rollins, man, is going all out. Forget the Messiah, forget the Savior. He is the fashionista of Friday nights, that man. Loving it.
He's already dressing like a dad who's trying to remain cool with these outfits, isn't he?
Oh, you mean Chris Jericho?
Old. Yeah. But coming back to like who I actually think will win, I do think it is going to be Daniel Bryan. It's the best option. Everybody thought he was going to win the Rumble. He had a segment on Talking Smack with Paul Heyman saying like, what is it with Roman only not wanting to compete in the chamber? What is it with your clients, Paul, wanting to do as little wrestling as possible? And I think it makes a lot of sense to have history. I don't know if Roman's going to drop the Universal title at WrestleMania, but if he does, I need to see heel Roman be face Bryan at least once for a world title. And I mentioned to you guys before this that I had a fact I wanted to bring up. I did some research, and also these two faced off one-on-one at Fastlane 2015 with Roman's title opportunity off on the line. Everybody won, even though nobody wanted him to. That was on the 21st of February. No, sorry, the 22nd of February 2015. And from what I can tell, other than tag matches or gauntlet matches, there's never been a straight up advertised one-on-one match between these two since then. And tomorrow, Elimination Chamber is the 21st of February 2021. So it's almost 6 years to the day since the last time these two had a one-on-one match on pay-per-view against each other.
It makes
And,
sense, because it
it's
feels
if it's
fresh.
meant to be.
Yeah, it feels fresh. Like, it still feels like one of those, like you say, Scott, it's one of those matchups between two of the legitimate main event stars that WWE currently has at their disposal, and it doesn't feel like we've done it before. How many other big pairings can you say that about? You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I think as well, you were talking about Scott Cesaro's maybe getting an opportunity. I wouldn't like him to win. It's not an achievement winning the chamber, but it is always a big thing winning the chamber.
Mm.
I wouldn't want to waste that to then have him lose to Roman, to then have him lose to Seth, and the build up to Seth and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. I'd rather he was maybe at the side,
Yeah.
and maybe, I don't know, maybe another Andre Battle Royal win. Maybe build him as an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner instead of, oh, by the way, he's with Paul Heyman. Do you know Paul Heyman manages Brock Lesnar, who beat the Undertaker?
I don't remember that. I didn't remember that.
Absolutely
Period.
stupid. But will Roman retain? I think. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Off my screen, please. Haunting.
Oh, as people will be eating their dinner watching this. Bad enough the three of us are on screen. I mean, you don't need that.
If you listen
I
closely
think
to us, you can hear people's dinner being scraped into the bin.
Roman's retaining. I don't see him losing, especially not to someone who's went through a chamber match.
Yeah. Let's think about the rules of our sweeps though. He could lose by DQ. And
Yeah,
that sets up the Fastlane rematch. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Like, when I put that docket, when I put that prediction into you tomorrow, Ross, I'm tempted to go Roman loses just because I think it could be by disqualification.
But though, is that
so
not a bit cheap though? The way they book it, they book that. Have
Yeah.
Brian, if it's Brian, go through all that chamber, win by DQ just to go to a fast lane match that he probably isn't going to win, because obviously I think by now we all know that that their plans are probably set for Roman right now. It probably isn't Brian. Brian, I think is the best guy because he can have at least. I think the match with Roman, Roman will win, but I think he should go at least 10 minutes. We
Yeah.
won't get him increasingly frustrated that Brian, despite going through the chamber, isn't staying down, because we know Brian's known for long matches. One of his first matches back was the Greatest Royal Rumble. He went an hour and 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So you can go the distance, much like Hercules. But
Michael Bolton. Michael Bolton referencing on the podcast. Michael Bolton.
yeah, so at least it'll be something like
you
entertaining. And then also
Trickster
Roman. Davy Jones, Giant Square.
Right, now back to the good
what
part.
I'm talking about
Here
anymore.
we go.
So Scott, Roman,
We're
yes or
talking
no? Is it?
Yeah, Roman's definitely retaining, and it'll be all boo Roman, but I think he'll make it more triumphant when he's eventually defeated, because Roman is the final boss of SmackDown right now.
Yeah, yeah. I think Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns winning, because I think I'd love Sami Zayn to get pinned, by the way, with his foot under the ropes, because as you know, unless you're Shane McMahon, rope breaks don't count in a steel cage match or a chamber match or a Hell in a Cell match. So I would love them just something else to add to the conspiracy. So I'd love that. Or that, or do you remember the year CM Punk's pod didn't open all the
I
way
was thinking something similar.
and the general manager let him back in? This time I don't want. I want him to be like halfway out, and then someone like Baron Corbin just catches him with a right hook.
Yeah, big end of days right out the pod. You know what I mean?
So moving on to a match that has got implications for you, David. You've got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler in your draft team along with Ryan Gallagher. It looks like the future WrestleMania opponents are going to team together in that typical, but how will they get along scenario? And who could ever eliminate the Big Show? Yeah, we've got Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair v Shayna and Nia Jax.
Yeah.
I think this might be another one of those, well, how are they going to get along? I think the tag titles are in a wee bit of trouble here for you. I think You're shaking your head there. What
No.
do you? I'll let you take the floor.
I think you're wrong. I think David Hockney's wrong as well. I listened to Saturday Draft Live earlier, and that delusional bastard is going on about, oh, this is it. I really feel it. I really feel it's happening. Why would they have had that segment in NXT hyping up Shayna and Nia specifically against Dakota and Raquel? They wouldn't. Why else would they say Lana and Naomi are in line for a women's tag team title shot if you're going to have Lana go up against anyone other than the two women who have been tormenting her for months? This will have storyline implications, but have storyline implications in setting up tension between Sasha and Bianca this Sunday. They're not going to get the job done against Nia and Shayna. Nia and Shayna are walking out there as champions. It'll be an entertaining match. I understand that you people want me to fail. I understand you want Ryan Gallagher to fail. I understand you want Nia to fail. I understand you want her whole to fail. All right, everyone wants Shayna to succeed, so I'm not going to say her. All right, but there is no chance, I'm telling you, absolutely no chance that they walk out without those titles on Sunday. They'll retain them.
See, I didn't know this match had been made official, by the way, because Jack brought it up at the end of Saturday Night Live, and I didn't know it was a thing because I hadn't really seen a lot of SmackDown. I was just assumed that the main women's faction show would be Asuka against a random mystery opponent to replace Lacey Evans, but it seems that's off the card altogether. But I did say on Saturday Night Live that this actually makes the women's tag titles a bit more interesting than they have been in a long time, because you got this matchup, you've got, like you said, Lana and Naomi waiting in the wings, the winners of the Women's Dusty Cup waiting with their opportunity that they earned in the end of the tournament. You got all these potential challenges, and I think either way, it's a good matchup for Dakota and Raquel, because it's either way, it's two NXT alumni coming back to retain the title. I think whether or not, I think there's two possibilities here, and both of them end up in they can't get along. Who would have thought it? Either Sasha and Bianca lose here, or they win the titles, take them to maybe either NXT to lose to Kai and Gonzalez, or lose to Lana and Naomi. Hopefully the NXT option. I prefer that one, not just for draft reasons, but don't have Sasha and Bianca lose to Lana, please, in any context. But then that then leads to further issues, because like we've seen this happen before, like Shawn Michaels and John Cena won the world tag titles before WrestleMania 23 when they were meant to fight for the WWE title. So it's got a history there. But I know Jack, I don't know how you guys feel, but Jack said he didn't want to see Sasha and Bianca win because he's sick of seeing one of the main singles champions holding the tag titles as well in the women's division.
He's right. He's right. They've built up a tag division across all three brands right now. And I know what you're saying. It would be a good match. Sasha and Bianca go back to NXT. But for me, the money is in show how much Dakota Kai has grown by putting her up against Shayna Baszler again, a woman who dominated her in the past, like absolutely made her a bitch anytime they faced off in NXT. Like even just have her put on a competent performance, and then you can say what you want about Nia Jax, but that visual of Nia standing across the ring from Raquel Gonzalez on Wednesday night NXT was absolute money. It was absolute money, all right? And that's the contest I think that they want to see. I think it's the contest Triple H wants to see if in NXT, and I ultimately just can't see them putting the titles on Sasha and Bianca like that. I think it would be too short-sighted. I think they've got plans for the women's tag team titles that go beyond the SmackDown title scene.
I'm going to come in here a minute and just offer you a wee scenario, though. Obviously, Wednesday nights, we might not care about the ratings, but the companies do care about the ratings. They're going up against the go-home show for AEW's pay-per-view. First pay-per-view of the year, I should say, sorry. They're going up against the go-home show to Sting's first pay-per-view match in 6 years. That's going to get a lot of heat. There's Tully Blanchard making his return to the ring that they're building up.
Oh, whoopee.
All aboard the Tully train.
And they have stacked this card with 2 tag team title matches to basically get eyes away from their go-home show. With the road to WrestleMania being what it is, and people tune into Raw and SmackDown every week so they don't miss anything, if Sasha and Bianca win it, there's still that wee bit of, will they, won't they? And then on NXT, Sasha shows her true colours, turns on Belair, costs them the titles, and then that makes SmackDown must feud. It makes NXT can't miss TV as well, because now the tag titles are on there. Am I maybe reading too much into it from an executive style point of view, or?
Yes.
Yeah, my thinking of it is like they've done this before with opponents. That's why we make jokes about it. How will they get along? And they usually do. So they've got history in the past. That's why a lot of people were worried about Goldberg actually winning because they had history.
Yeah.
But that Sasha return, I think, makes more sense. I agree with you for the ratings wise because like look at Great American Bash when Sasha and Bailey were advertised to return for like a kind of inter-promotional match, like inter-brand match. Then NXT won the ratings that week, and they're going to look at that and try and replicate previous successes WWE's is known to do. You know, I know you said about Lana, Dave, but I don't think WWE really cares about paying off that storyline, given how they took Lana out before TLC, and then nobody cared that Lana put Nia through a table a couple weeks ago because, like, less than 5 seconds before that, Nia was shouting about her high hole and all that. So, you know, I do like the idea of Sasha turning on her, but does that mean she changes her hair color again? She changes her hair depending on what mood she's in. Maybe it's black this time. Maybe it's green.
Oh.
No, she's that weirdo with 5 colours in her hair.
I love it. I think you're working yourself into a shoot, brothers. I have to say that. Honest to God, I think you're also forgetting about the biggest X factor in all of this, and that is our favourite. All right, if you can find the sommelier that's right for you, you'll find this man, and that is Reginald. All right, if you honestly don't think that Reginald's going to have a part to play in costing Sasha and Bianca those tag team titles on Sunday, then I don't know what to say to you. You know, the cards, what you say, it makes a logical sense and argument, but the cards are too much stacked in the deck of Nia and Shayna here. I'm telling you, there's just too much
those underdogs.
meat in that bone. Yeah, there's too much meat in that bone, you know?
So, David, you're going Nia and Shayna. Scott, I'm going to get you to give a prediction quickly.
Just because it's WWE, they'll probably take it off them quite quickly after, but I'm just going to go Sasha and Bianca. You know, when the guy who says who hosts a show called The Conspiracy Theories is saying that you're thinking about too much and you're working still into a shoot, I just feel insulted, honestly.
So Sasha and Bianca for Scott, Nia and Shayna for David. You know what? I'm going to go Sasha and Bianca. I just think the NXT thing, I think, is too prominent there. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm working myself into a shoot. I'm Pepe Silver.
This is why Wilson keeps winning, all right? Because Wilson makes the boring meat and potatoes selections of what might happen, and you people are coming in here with your wild speculation. All right, about Tully Blanchard's coming back, so it must mean that Drew's retaining at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Give me a break.
Listen. I win one sweep a year, and it's always the sweep where everything goes against everyone else. And it's never, I won that sweep by 1 point. It's, I won that sweep by a lot. All right. So it pays off at least once a year. So
well,
I'm hoping it's this.
The broken clock of ESSR.
Exactly. Wish I was right twice a year. Just a wee quick one before we go on, not to read too much into it. Do you think we could maybe see an appearance, no matter who wins, from the Dusty Cup winners?
Yes. Only because one of them's on my draft team, so I'll say yes.
I don't think so.
I think
the aftermath of the match will play more into this further in the SmackDown title feud rather than anything to do with the women's tag team titles. That's my only reason for it, though.
Fair enough. We're going to move on to a triple threat match that might not be a triple threat match. It's Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley versus Matt Riddle, or just Riddle.
Look at those stallions. What a beautiful match that is, man. Oh, absolutely
look
beautiful.
At Bobby Lashley. He just stares right through you, doesn't he?
Look at them. And then look at us.
Just reminds me of that Sisters promo. He just looks in the camera, dead behind the eyes. I love you.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. It's advertised as a triple threat match. It's advertised as obviously Keith Lee being in it, but apparently he's meant to be injured now. And was he on? It wasn't on Raw this week, was he?
It was undisclosed reasons, from what I remember, as to why he wasn't there. But if I was Grant and Gary, I'd be a bit worried about the Keith Lee situation.
Sorry, go Scott.
Yeah, I was just agreeing. I was going to say I think I mentioned this on Saturday Draft Live that as much as this is a good match for the US title, these three guys are obviously three of the best guys on Raw at the minute. I honestly think it would be better off if they didn't have this match and took AJ, Orton, and Jeff out the chamber and put these three guys in, because then that would make it more interesting. Because especially given that like a couple months ago there were all these rumors about Keith going to WrestleMania against Drew. He was meant to, allegedly he was a favourite for the Rumble, then had to get taken out because of isolating for COVID.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with Keith.
We need to talk about Keith, but we also need to talk about Riddle and Bobby Lashley. If this is going to be a straight up one-on-one match, I'm really intrigued with the triple threat match aspect. Because Keith Lee and Matt Riddle, Keith Lee's just positioned that wee bit higher than him on the card, but their match with each other was great. Bobby Lashley's an absolute beast at the minute. He threw Keith Lee about as if he was a cruiserweight. But we've seen him throw Matt Riddle about more than once. Him and the Hurt Business just beating the hell out of Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
It's been going on since near the end of last year, so I'm not really interested in seeing that again. So I'm hoping that Keith Lee is okay, not just for his own sake, but for the match's sake as well, because I think this will be as boring and one-sided as Lashley versus Slapjack at Hell in a Cell.
Totally. I don't mean to keep bringing up the draft, but just because I don't think Scott and Jack have been harsh enough on him, I thought Matt Riddle was one of the worst draft picks of this season. Like, honest to goodness, and he picked him round 3. I think that was a joke, an absolute joke from Dave and Robert. Dave and Robert. I just didn't understand it, and this will be what proves me wrong or proves me right. Because if it is one-on-one, there is no chance, absolutely no chance that Riddle walks out with the US title. And if it's a triple threat, there's slightly more of a chance, but like a 2% chance that Riddle walks out with the US title. I don't think it's a shame. He's obviously a very talented performer. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen him in NXT, and even in NXT, I don't think he reached his full potential. So we'll see what happens post-Mania for Riddle. But in the road to WrestleMania, I think that guy's going to be sitting in catering with Bo Dallas discussing real estate.
Sorry, Nico.
I think I mentioned it on Saturday Live. I think I'm waiting to see how harsh I can be on Dave, depending on the outcome of this match. Because if it goes well, I said it on the show, then it will justify maybe his high position, and if he actually wins the title. If not, then it's a risk that didn't pay off, and he should be brought up and mentioned.
He should be flopped, tarred, and feathered.
Yes, Robert Shaw should be booted from the league.
Shame.
Null and void is draft picks.
I could see this actually going the way of Lashley's feud with Balor from a few years ago, where Balor won the IC title but pinned Leo Rush. Lashley won it back a couple weeks later, then lost it again at WrestleMania. So what if Riddle wins, doesn't pin Lashley, and then
the Demon Riddle appeals at WrestleMania.
Riddle or Keith, one of the two wins the title, but beats the other, doesn't beat Lashley. Lashley wins at Fastlane, and then they do the exact same thing at WrestleMania, because Lashley, since he came back, his 2 WrestleMania matches haven't actually been that great.
Nice.
Thank you
very much.
From the priesthoods, I think that's a bit rich.
Our name's not a political statement. Thank you very much. It's about our love for Damien Priest and Bad Bunny.
If you say so. That's not what we'll let the courts decide.
So apparently, Courtney rumors talk is that Damien Priest is probably going to get replaced in that tag match at Mania with Booker T.
I can dig that.
I could dig that if Damien Priest is Keith Lee's replacement in this match, and Lashley versus Damien Priest is the WrestleMania match.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Just quickly before we move on, we obviously saw on SmackDown Apollo Crews turning full heel, dropping the stairs on Big E. I think, we talk about Fastlane matches. I think Fastlane's going to be Apollo's last chance. He's going to lose to Big E. And I think Nakamura, Big E is going to be the Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania. There's rumours of a multi-man match at WrestleMania for one of the mid-card titles, and I think the best way to go is a multi-man match for the US title, because you can have Bobby Lashley lose the title. Money in the Bank is always right after WrestleMania. You need someone big to go for Money in the Bank. Even if he doesn't win it, a dominant display in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and then going back after the person that beat him in the multi-person match. Like, you know, if it was a ladder match or a first person to get pinned or whatever, you know, you never pinned me to get the title. It keeps Lashley strong, but at the same time gets the title off him for a big WrestleMania moment.
Here's the thing with that, and I don't think it sounds a bad idea, but I just disagree with the fact that I don't think they'll put the title on Cruz. I think they will put the title on Cruz, and I feel that they could. I think that'll be the multi-person match, whether to put it on him or, you know, he could retain against all odds and set up this heel run as IC champion, which I think he deserves, because I've enjoyed his work recently. And I didn't think I'd say that about Apollo Crews. I don't think any of us did. He was a bit of a, you know, sort of, you know, bit meh. In terms of the US title, I think if Lashley even loses by fluke in a multi-person match, to me, I'd rather see him be dominant. And I'd like to go back to the days of like Rob Van Dam or The Miz. I'd like to see him hold the mid-card title at the same time he held Money in the Bank. And he could even take the US title if he defends it in like on a tag match stipulation with MVP. But MVP gets the pin in the match, and, you know, he takes the title that way, like Attitude Era shenanigans, you know, that keep Lashley looking strong. But it's one of those ones that could go either way. But I just think my thinking of that and how I'd shape that is that I genuinely think it would harm Apollo Crews more not to win the IC title than it would, you know, the other way about. I mean, I think Apollo Crews really needs that win right now.
I think it'll happen maybe Fastlane if he does win it, and then he can carry the belt into WrestleMania. I think Big E will be involved in the IC title come WrestleMania, whether or not he's the champion going into that multi-man match. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it is going to be Fastlane, because I think he does need it at this point to help validate this heel work he's been doing. Because you know, Cultaholic put it best recently. They said, like, if you need your entrance team to shout your name at the start of it to get people to not forget who you are, then it obviously means that there's been some mistakes made in your career. So, you know, like, we all remember, oh, Apollo Crews mind he's a thing. So we had to put a thing at the start of his song going, Apollo! Like, oh, I mind him.
So just quickly, before we move on to the main event, are you going Lashley to retain here?
Yeah.
Lashley to retain. Scott, are you the same as David?
No, I think I'm going to take it and go Riddle.
You're going to go Riddle for it? See, at least he's doing that in a sweep when there's two sweeps still up before WrestleMania. You know what I mean? At least he's not picking them third in the draft.
I know.
I mean, worst mistakes have been made. You could take a dentist in the second round when the AEW World Champion's still available, you know?
You need to have both of them on Saturday Draft Live in the next few weeks to ask about that. Like, they need to be on record defending that decision.
They need to plan on having every team on over the next few weeks to explain their decisions.
That's the big one. Britt Baker, man. Fucking hell, Jesus.
I honestly would have picked Kane, the wrestling dentist, before I picked Britt Baker in the draft. But
Christian over Britt Baker.
We're going to move on to the main event. I started the show by saying I wasn't really intrigued by this. The WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. However, after recent reports that came out at the weekend, you know, it looks like it's going to be Edge versus Roman. It's going to be Orton versus Wyatt. It's going to be Sasha and Bianca. Apparently, everything else is up in the air. And they're still, basically the writing team are still discussing pitches for certain matches, including the WWE Championship match, which does intrigue me a little bit. But at the same time, you know, Xavier Woods said it best. Kofi Kingston has been world champion more recently than Sheamus, Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles. Sorry, AJ Styles, Sheamus, and Jeff Hardy, not Randy Orton. So 3 of the 6 people in that match, Kofi Kingston has been champion, and more recently. And I don't think I want to see any of these people as WWE champion at this exact moment in time. AJ Styles, the almost stuff is good, but I'm kind of getting bold at it. Like, it's a decent heel run. It's not the face that runs the place, AJ Styles heel.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff Hardy, I'm sorry, without Matt, in the past few years, he's been really, really dull.
Hmm.
Like, he's not been properly over in a big company since WWE in 2010. Randy Orton looks like he's going to be dealing with the Fiend, so like knowing that there's that match out there takes any hint or hope of Randy Orton winning away, and therefore makes me not want to see him winning it.
Yeah.
Kofi Kingston, you know what? I wouldn't be against him winning it, but it's not happening. Like, it's just plain as day not happening.
Ali will do something retribution with that. I don't actually think he'll make the chamber.
Fair enough. Well, there's Braun Strowman still lurking about.
Yeah. I think that's what'll happen. Ali will take him out, and then fucking Big Daddy Pierce will be like, "Here you go, bro."
And Sheamus, I think he's the only person other than Drew McIntyre that's got a realistic chance of winning this chamber, Scott. Rumours going about that maybe they want to give Drew a do-over with some fans in attendance, you know, have them witness his WrestleMania moment. But I mean, do you want to see Drew lose the title for 6 weeks again just to win it back like he did with Randy Orton?
Well, it would make more sense if there were fans there at WrestleMania rather than just losing it and another winning it back in a match for the Thunderdome just so we can debut it. Look, Vince gave me a sword. I have a sword now. I think the building of, it's all former WWE champions has actually hurt this more than helped it, because Jeff, like Orton and AJ, I still don't care about them going into this. I don't think either of them are going to win, even if they are former WWE champions. It makes sense now that Miz has been taken out of it. I do love it when he tried to argue for Morrison to take his place. Says he's a former ECW champion. Which is a great argument. He's one of the few people to remember that. And I know they wanted to think that Kofi Mania 2 Back in the Habit is going to happen this year, but Kofi's not getting back in the main event scene, at least not for some time now. Sheamus, I agree with you, is probably the most likely. But Sheamus, right now, I weirdly can only see Sheamus and Drew as Drew's match for WrestleMania. But as much as they'll tell a story about their history and how they go so far back to their indie days, it still doesn't scream WrestleMania match to me. I don't want to see that main event either night of WrestleMania this year. It screams Drew's middle feud leading up to WrestleMania before he's WrestleMania challenger. I mean, you got 25,000 each night, and I know it's not going to be popular. You've got actual fans here. Is that not enough to entice bloody Brock to come down from whatever isolated bit of land he's hiding on to come back and have a rematch with Drew? A longer one this time.
I don't think it is.
I like to think that, I'm sorry, I've pictured something in my head, I'm making myself giggle. I like to think that, see, for any Parks and Rec fans, when Ron goes up into the mountains to his cabin to hide from Tammy One.
Yeah, that's Brock.
And he's got the big bushy beard and how long have you been up here? A week. I like to think of Brock just chopping wood and hunting deer with his bare hands.
Does that make Sable the librarian?
Yes. Still a more interesting librarian than anything AEW have. No, that makes Sable Lucy Lawless. There you go.
Fair enough.
I like to think Brock doesn't know there's a pandemic because he doesn't go near people most of the time anyway.
Yeah, Sable does the shopping in that household, for sure.
Why have we got these surgical masks all over the house? For no reason, Brock. Just go back to your colouring book.
One question that needs to be asked about this match is, Randy Orton's going to get eliminated because the Fiend's going to do something, or Alexa's going to do something weird. But what are they going to do? They get the lights come out. Alexa, how about this? I don't know how they can pull this off. Okay, I'm spitballing here. But lights go out. Orton's about to punt, say, Drew. Lights go out, and while it's dark, Alexa does what Shawn Michaels did to get out from under the bit into the chamber. She goes out and hides in Randy's body. When the lights come out, she's there, splitting up blood or whatever that weird thing she did a few weeks ago. And then somehow the Fiend's behind them or something like that. They're going to do something creepy.
Yeah.
Or at least something they think is creepy but looks funny.
Could I offer a visual here that I think would be amazing? You know, you talked about him going to punt kick someone.
Yeah.
He's doing the run up. The lights go out. The lights come back on. In one of the empty pods, we see Alexa Bliss just smiling and laughing away. And it turns to a shocked Randy Orton. And over the shoulder of Randy Orton, we see the other pod has the Fiend in it.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really cool visual. But a lot of the intriguingness of this match, I think, is what's going to happen out with the match. Because we mentioned Braun is floating about. He says he wants to be in the chamber. Ali and Retribution aren't done with the New Day. We have The Miz with the Money in the Bank briefcase floating about. We have Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt out there in the great beyond somewhere. They're somewhere in the DC multiverse. Check
Almost is there.
Almost is there. Almost is like the size of the chamber, for Christ's sake. So I don't. By the way, I mentioned Retribution not being done with the New Day and completely forgetting about Retribution being a thing until you mentioned them earlier on. That could be Big E's WrestleMania match. He loses the IC title and he goes and helps New Day against Retribution.
Maybe.
It's maybe one of the big four.
This ain't Book It, Ross. No, but it's my show and I'll do what I want, Daniel.
If it was Book It,
New Day is a trio. They technically retired. We don't know what the rules are on retired teams anymore.
Yes, we don't know. I mean, maybe they'll show up all in the Royal Rumble at the same time.
I forgot about Kane and the Undertaker's match like a year ago. But anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah, Kane showed up in the Royal Rumble, but the Undertaker wasn't with them.
He was there spiritually.
Look at Edge and Christian in that Royal Rumble match. Look at the shape they're in. There's still clearly.
What Daniel is trying to say to you, but that's not being. What Daniel is saying to you, but that's not being big. He's trying to say is that you have no authority here, Ross.
You have no authority here, Jack.
Read the standing.
The vice chair's here. I take charge.
This is my live stream. Read it and understand it.
Well, I'm trying to say about the outside fans. I do agree they're the more interesting. That's why I wanted like Lee or Lashley or Riddle in to make it more interesting because Jeff's probably only there to jump off the pod at one point. And I'd rather see someone like Owens or that do it, or Bryan do it in the SmackDown chamber. Miz, I would love to be more optimistic about Miz potentially cashing in, but like, remember 2016, 2017, even 2018, everybody was like, give Miz a run with one of the two world titles. And then he got the Money in the Bank briefcase, and nobody wants him to cash in it successfully.
Is that maybe...
What happened?
Morrison happened. I've said this before. Morrison is weighing... Morrison is weighing the Miz down. I wouldn't be against Miz cashing in after WrestleMania, or like, we don't know what's going to happen with the WWE Championship. Why are we never had a year where someone goes, well, if the world champion, if the Royal Rumble winner's going after the world champion on Raw, then I'm taking this briefcase to SmackDown and I'm going to main event WrestleMania. It annoys me, but could we maybe see Miz cash in a short reign until Fastlane and then maybe lose the title?
No.
I'll
tell you why. I think we I'm trying to like the Joker, as a society, have become too accustomed and too built up about long title reigns. When in actual fact, a nice short transitional reign is what helps build people's numbers up. I'd like to see Drew's numbers being built up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that doing that with Miz after WrestleMania will be good. Miz cashed in on Drew, short redone. Drew wins back. It's fine. Doesn't hurt anyone. It's perfectly acceptable. Yeah, I think you two have buried the lead here completely. You buried the lead here completely. Sheamus is walking out WWE champion this Sunday. I am completely 100% behind it. Because Scott said it himself, I can't see Drew facing anyone else. At one point we fought John Cena. John Cena's, peacemaking somewhere, for the UNICEF or whatever. He's doing all that jazz. You can't bring anyone in. Brock doesn't want to come back, and it doesn't make sense for Brock to come back to just get the same match we got last year. You know what I mean? Doesn't make sense to me. Who else are you going to bring in? Fucking Goldberg again?
Yes.
Cena. Is it weird that the rumors are that Orton v. Wyatt is going to be another Firefly Funhouse match? Is it weird I want them to show Cena in some sort of pre-tape thing, but have him there in his Peacemaker outfit?
I don't think that's weird at all. I think that's glorious.
Weirdly, with Sheamus, this might be his best world title reign. If it does happen, then he loses it to Sheamus because it would be the one with more purpose and more story. rather than like his world title reign where he feuded with Alberto Del Rio for eternity and then lost to the Big Show and fought with him over a big chair or whatever the hell that was about.
Yeah,
Oh,
and he's credible as well. He's credible enough. Like he's had 4 world title runs at this point. You know, one of the best tag teams in modern memory in the bar. They didn't have a bad match, really, in my opinion. Highlights every pay-per-view I watched them on. Sheamus doesn't get enough plaudits for how good he really is. And I know you're saying, it doesn't exactly scream WrestleMania main event, but the story is there, as you alluded to build it up to that, being worthy of that status. And let's be honest, Roman Edge is going to go and last anyway. You know? So the WWE title match can afford to be. I would compare this to, remember when Punk faced Jericho? We all knew it wasn't going to be like the main event, but it was still a captivating enough story that it made it one of the most entertaining matches that night. I think that's what's going to happen with Drew and Sheamus. Give Sheamus the win here. Give Sheamus the title. Good run up to WrestleMania to tell this story, and then Drew takes it back in front of fans. To me, that's the ideal scenario.
Is there a risk? Sorry, on you go, Scott, and then I'll ask the last question.
We talked about Money in the Bank. I do agree it's probably going to happen after WrestleMania and probably not be successful. Or maybe they'll try for the first time to have it go a whole year before someone cashes in, or maybe Miz goes by the deadline and isn't able to cash it in. But I really hope they rebuild the men's Money in the Bank by doing something meaningful with this year's one.
Yeah.
And I think actually the best way to pay off Edge winning the Universal title, if Edge beats Roman, is have whoever wins Money in the Bank cash in on Edge, who obviously him being the first ever Money in the Bank guy, he helps make somebody else with the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
You know, at the minute, there seems to be a portion of fans who hate the idea of Edge being in this match with Roman because they put him into that camp with Goldberg and that, when we know Edge actually cares about what he's doing when he comes back to these kind of programs.
Yeah. I'd love, like, you talk about symmetry in wrestling. I'd love if we have Michael Cole commentary when someone catches in an Edge and he's like, not this way, God damn it. Like when Edge catched in and Taker, you know, it'd be amazing.
Just a wee start on the Money in the Bank. You know, we talked about doing something memorable with it and, you know, actually making a good run. From 2016 to 2018, the winner of the Money in the Bank, the men's Money in the Bank, I should say, ended up on the pre-show of the following WrestleMania. Dean Ambrose won it and then fought on the pre-show of WrestleMania 33 for the IC title. Baron Corbin at WrestleMania 2017, and then was in 2018's Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then 2018 Braun Strowman, 2019 won the Battle Royal at WrestleMania the next year. So yes, and it looks like Otis is maybe, you know, the only person to buck that trend has been bloody Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
See, the thing, this should not really help the women either, because Carmella was in the WrestleMania 34 pre-show while having the briefcase, cashed it in a couple of nights later. Then the very next year was back on the pre-show winning the Battle Royal. Mm-hmm. And then like that year, 2018's winner Alexa Bliss was injured and couldn't even compete at WrestleMania. She had to host it and stand awkwardly with Hulk Hogan.
Like that.
Jesus, that is a horrible, horrible thought. Him to stand with Hulk Hogan. But we are heading up for an hour here. We've made this a sort of blockbuster main event one because we are on the road to WrestleMania. We usually try and make them half an hour. Fastlane's definitely going to be half an hour. So I'm not talking about Fastlane for an hour.
You think you'll extend it to half an hour? 10 minutes in and out.
Scott, David has already said Sheamus. Who are you going to go with?
I think this is one of the few ones I'm going to play it safe. I think WWE will. I'm going to go with Drew.
You're going to go with Drew. Fair enough. Well, that just about covers us here, guys.
Who are you going, Ross? Who are you going?
Obviously going to go Jeff Hardy.
No,
I think Drew. I think Drew's retaining. I think I don't see, you know, they talked about, you know, how giving Drew his moment at WrestleMania. What's wrong with Drew retaining at WrestleMania? You know what I mean? Like, the fans will still be there.
Who'd he retain against, but? Like, who
could retain against Sheamus in a one-on-one match?
But who can you build without Sheamus winning? I honestly think the only way you could build Sheamus up to be credible enough is having him walk in as champion. You know, there's no one I can see them building up to be Drew's opponent at this point.
I think
I got an idea.
Sorry, you go.
Here's how you fix the Money in the Bank briefcase. Sheamus comes close to beating Drew in the chamber, loses, goes mental to Adam Pearce like, I want another match with Drew, and he said that you can't. Okay then, oi Miz, me and you at Fastlane, put your Money in the Bank on the line. Sheamus beats the Miz. He says, I'm cashing this in. Me and you, Drew, WrestleMania.
That'd be not bad.
It'd be no bad, but I think because the briefcase has changed hands about 8 times in this year's run,
It's a championship in its own right.
I know. I don't want. Remember, it used Jericho said he didn't want it to be a belt because he didn't want a belt that was never defended, and yet it's been defended about 4 times this year.
Yeah.
I think that to your point, David, is Sheamus credible? Does he have to beat Drew? Only Randy Orton and Sheamus have pinned Drew McIntyre in over a year.
Mm.
So Sheamus can hang his hat on that, and we still have 6 Raws and a pay-per-view to go. I think Sheamus, if you gave him the gimmick he came back with at the end of 2018, where he was just going after Chad Gable and beating the shit out of everyone, I like a bully Sheamus. Sheamus bullying people is quite good.
Yeah.
It was the gimmick he came in with when he fought with Goldust and Jamie Noble. So, no, I think he could make him a credible champion. It's just if Drew's won at WrestleMania, which I think he is, I don't want him to lose the title again in the process. I'd rather, and then lose to Miz, cashing in, you know what I mean? Because I think to make the Money in the Bank worthwhile, shut up, you wee dick. I'm not even going to mention that wee fud.
Don't hold back, eh?
Would you call it? Yeah, I don't want to see Drew lose and then win it back and then lose to Miz, because I think Miz has to win to make this whole Money in the Bank worthwhile. It's just pointless.
But that builds up his numbers, and that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. How many short reigns did The Rock have? Does it harm him?
You leave Dwayne out of this.
I wouldn't. There's nothing wrong with Drew losing in this chamber, winning it back off Sheamus at Mania, losing like the next night to Miz, because he's cashed in. That doesn't harm Drew. And then he wins it back. And all of a sudden Drew's like a how many time world champion? Simple.
That would be
Alexander would say.
Fair enough, Jackie Weaver. You've got no authority here, but I'll listen to your points nonetheless.
You don't need to have a chairman. There's a chairman already installed.
This is my show, damn it. Well, we went over an hour with this one for a show that we said we weren't too overly enthusiastic about. We've basically went into every match. We've basically made this a book it show. This has been live book it.
We have scraped the bottom of the barrel with every theory we could possibly come out with here. Also, I want to say, I think Braun is going to face either Shane or Adam Pearce at WrestleMania, and that will play into the Raw chamber match as well. I think he'll have some complaints after the chamber. Yes,
Shane drives off the pirate ship onto Braun Strowman.
Shane gets thrown off the pirate ship by Braun. Let's do it.
Fair enough.
There you go. It's basically just been our way of trying to say we don't like this show the way it is. Let's try and come up with weird ways that won't happen to make it better.
Yeah. We've been the armchair pundits. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Eat, Sleep, Suplex, Retweet our Android, iTunes, Spotify, and Anchor. You can find our massive back catalogue there. If you didn't see it earlier on, Adam Max did signing with WWE. That was breaking news at the start of the show there, which feels like a year ago. At Suplex Retweet, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Bebo apparently, according to David Campbell. Eat, Sleep, Suplex, Retweet community on Facebook. You can get involved in the conversation and you can find the links to all our latest shows. We've got lots of stuff coming up on YouTube in the next few weeks. We've got the Book It semi-finals, Strack versus Stephen Wilson. We have the retro review. We are going to start doing the retro reviews once a month, 21 years to the day the month of the pay-per-view. So No Way Out 2000, that's me and Scott on retro review. It's coming out on YouTube next week. We've got we've got loads coming out. Quiz Showdown is coming out soon. I believe is the Legends of WrestleMania Quiz Showdown out yet?
No, it's Legends of Wrestling. Yeah, a very interesting concept to how the rounds are decided. It's very interesting. I was happy because I went into it thinking, oh god, we're doing Heroes of Wrestling, that awful show with the drunken Jake Roberts promo. So that was 3 hours of studying wasted.
Fair enough. Lots to come on the YouTube show. And guys, quickly before we go, if you get anything to plug for your own platforms, David, I'll start with you.
Yeah, just go and check me out. First Time Films, FTTV, Full Time Football. Apparently, I do that now as well. Very badly. But yeah, but I'll be interviewing Jordan Elsas from the new show Superman and Lois coming out in the CW on Monday. That'll be released, so check that out there.
Nice. And Scott?
Scott Round Podcast. We got a review of WrestleMania 12 coming out soon. I'd never seen the show or the Iron Man match, so my co-host Paul was very interested to hear my thoughts on that. Also, Rogue Opinions, I'm a member of their A-team. We're in the middle of a series to decide the greatest comic book movie of all time, because we're the ones you can trust with that sort of information.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nerds. I'm going to go check the Eat Sleep Suplex Retweet Bebo and see who's left me love for the day. I'm Ross McLeod, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.